This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast. Let's go to the phones. Rea Kolbl, thanks for joining the show.
No problem. Always happy to be there.
Rea, you are coming up on your second World's Toughest Mudder very soon. You're the defending champion. How do you feel going in?
I'm actually really excited. Everything that hurt all summer long stopped hurting. So it finally feels like I could potentially go for 24 hours again. And quite honestly, I don't have a lot of bad, painful memories from last year. So it's not like, oh my goodness, what are we doing again? It's more like really excited to do it again and do it somewhere else. So I'm excited.
You know, no woman other than Amelia Boone has ever gone back to back. How do you feel about your chances?
I feel like with 24-hour races, having mileage goals or, placement goals is, a little hard just because there's so much that can go wrong. So I'm not really focusing on that. Of course, it would be wonderful to defend my title and, set a new record for mileage. But there's just so many variables, including the new venue, which we have no idea what it's going to be like. I've never ran there before. I heard it's pretty muddy, which changes the game quite a bit. The running's going to be very different. So it's definitely, I guess, a motivation to go faster and try and make less mistakes this year with the gear. I think I can shave off about an hour and a half of putting the wetsuit on right this year compared to last year. But other than that, I really have similar goals as last year, which was just to move for 24 hours as fast as possible and don't stop.
What do you think about that mud? How do you run in mud fast?
So I think what my strategy is going to be, we did I think it was either Austin or Michigan. One of them was super muddy. I think it was Austin, the first one. And I remember after 8 hours, my hip flexors were so dead from just, running through the mud and pulling the feet out of it. So I think what I'm going to probably end up doing, if there is very, very thick mud, I think I'm going to walk those sections because I feel like that will save a little bit of hip flexor strength because I can't not go on anymore after 8 hours. So I think that's going to be my pacing strategy through mud. But other than that, I feel like there's not much you can do. You just kind of go through and hope you don't land on your butt too often.
Do you have to make up for that walking by running faster on the dry? Like a lot of people walk uphill and then bomb down the hills to try and make up that time.
I don't think so. So I know last year in Vegas, towards the end, I walked the uphills too. But it wasn't so much because my legs were tired. It was because my wetsuit was too warm. So I was sweating too much on the uphills if I ran, and I didn't want to overheat and get dehydrated because of that. So I walked the up, but I didn't try and make up that time on the down just because, going very fast downhills can really put a lot of stress on your ankles and knees, and you don't want to be doing that when you need to be going for 24 hours. So I think it's just instead of crazy uphills that Vegas had, those were the few really long climbs. I think I'll just treat the muddy areas like the uphills of Atlanta.
What's your plan for gear, for a wetsuit?
So it looks like it's going to be pretty cold, which I'm pretty excited about because my issue last year was that I was too cold without the wetsuit, and in the full suit, I was too warm. And so I think that's not going to be a problem this year with the temperatures in the 40s at night. So I'm bringing similar gear as last year. I'm bringing a shorty and a long suit, and then a bunch of different neoprene layers to put over that. So if the long suit by itself is not warm enough, I'm going to have a vest, sleeveless vest, and another jacket with long sleeves that's also neoprene, and then, of course, a windbreaker and long waterproof pants in case if it gets too cold, just to help keep some of the heat in. And, of course, black mitts are coming with me. I think those are going to be very needed in Atlanta. But yeah, a lot of different variety that allows for different layering, just to be able to adjust to the changing temperatures. And I think another important thing that really helped me last year was also having a hoodie, like a neoprene hoodie, so that you're not losing heat through your head. But I think those are like the main items like last year.
What do you like to eat in the pit?
Oh my gosh, peanut butter jelly sandwiches are the best. It really, it changes throughout the night because at some point I really can't eat any more sweet stuff because my stomach kind of gets over that really quickly. But it's last year what worked really well for me were peanut butter jelly sandwiches because they're a little less solid. So I guess the jelly kind of makes it more smooshed. So those are pretty easy to eat, and you can also take them on the course and eat them on course. As you're walking away from the pit, so you don't have to be there. And then oatmeal worked really well too, just because it's also a little bit easier to swallow, and you can make it a little less sweet. So when your stomach doesn't want to have those super sweet energy gels anymore and energy bars, that kind of helps a lot. And then rice with soy sauce, that worked really great once sweet was no go anymore. So I'm bringing that again as well. And it also has a lot of sodium, which helps keep your electrolytes up when you're running so much. And then on course, I'm going to bring energy gels and waffles. I'm going to go with spring this year because that's the one thing that doesn't upset my stomach, and they're basically food-based energy gels. And I think the ingredients are basically rice and bananas and honey and some other things. So kind of like what I'm having in the pit, but in a more portable version. And then I like the honey stinger waffles because those are also a little bit softer, so they're easier to swallow than the energy bars, which are a bit more dry.
The honey stinger waffles are, when you say waffles, some people think of these giant things, but they're actually small, wafers almost that you can pack in there.
They're small and thin. They're not big waffles. They're very, very small thing. You can easily put it in a pocket of your windbreaker. But I still suggest eating it in one sitting because you don't want that to go through water obstacles.
Oh yeah. Once you open a package of something, you need to eat it right. That you can't save it for later, like you could on a road run.
Nope, there's no saving for later.
And
unless you want it really, really watery. But I think you probably get a lot of diseases together with that too.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. What was the name of the energy drink or energy gels you use?
It's called Spring. And they have a variety of different flavors, and only one of them has caffeine, but the other ones are caffeine-free. So if you're combining that with a pre-workout or some drinks that have caffeine, energy drinks, then those are really great because you're not going to be getting extra caffeine that you might not want when you're already drinking a lot of that in the pit.
How do you approach caffeine? Do you take it during the night, or do you not need it? Do you not want it?
So I have a pre-workout Endurelite, which has about 300 milligrams of caffeine. So that's kind of 3 cups of coffee. And I have that before the race. And then talking with Matt, who makes that, I just chatted with him, asked him what his strategy would be for a longer race. And he basically suggested to just, take it again 4 to 5 hours into the race because that's kind of the rate at which you're using up the caffeine. So I kind of have a pre-workout again, 4 to 5 hours in, just depending when I'm in the pit every time, just to kind of bring the caffeine levels back up. And it's also a slowly releasing caffeine, so it's not like you get super hyperactive and then crash. It's kind of a sustained energy level throughout the night. And I did that for the 8-hour races all throughout this year, and it worked really great just to take it again halfway through the race.
So last year when you won the race, it was your first year. You didn't really know exactly what you were in for. Do you think going into this second year, is that an advantage? Or was it maybe what was an advantage last year because you didn't know, so you didn't have to worry about it?
I think it's both advantage and disadvantage. I think it was definitely advantage not knowing what the heck I was doing. So I went out probably faster than what's recommended, but because I didn't know I was going too fast, I didn't really worry about it, and it ended up being a non-issue. Going into this year, you kind of know already just how hard it is, so I feel like that might make me go out a little bit more cautiously than what I would want to. But then on the other hand, I was losing a lot of time last year on mistakes, like putting the wetsuit on wrong like 3 times in a row and having too hot of a wetsuit. So then we had to like cut it at the sleeves and having a zipper such that I couldn't access it. So I couldn't take it off when I had to go use the bathroom. So all of these mistakes, we eliminated for this year. And I remembered which of my wetsuit is a front zip and a back zip, so I'm not going to accidentally put the zipper on the wrong side, and I'll know right away if I'm putting it on wrong. And that kind of ate last year almost an hour and a half, so that's quite a bit of time that I could, be using to run. And with all of that, I feel like the fact that I might go out a little bit more conservatively just because I know what's ahead, hopefully it will kind of even out, and maybe even on the side where I could get, a few more miles in, like at least 5 to 10 more would be ideal.
If you get 5 more miles than you got last year, there's a $10,000 bonus prize for you.
I do know that, and it's a very good motivation.
What do you think about that? Is that enough motivation to like, because you said an hour and a half you spent on your wetsuit last year. That's basically a lap, right? That's 95 miles if those weren't an issue last year.
Yeah, but the running part, like the running was a lot easier, I think, in Vegas than it's going to be anywhere else, just because it was a hard-packed third for the entire time. So you basically, you could run with your eyes closed and you probably wouldn't trip. So I'm not sure how that's going to be in Atlanta, and that could kind of eat some of that time. But I feel like the bonus is a very nice motivation, but for me, what's an even bigger motivation is those 100 miles in the orange jacket. And I guess 95 miles is a stepping stone to that. So I feel like both of those things will definitely be an advantage, just kind of like a motivation when things get hard, to have that goal and to try and run that far.
Talk about that. When you run 100 miles, you get an orange jacket. There's a kind of an orange jacket club. So far, there are no women in that club. What would it mean to get in that club?
I feel like these days there's very few things left when no one has done before. And so having an opportunity to attempt something that hasn't been done before is a huge motivation for me. And you never know, with this 24-hour races, they're so hard and they take such toll on your body, and you really do have to come into them uninjured and healthy. And so it's never a given that there's going to be, another race next year, because you don't know what shape or what's going to be next year. So I feel like every time an opportunity like this presents, I take it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I'm really going to try and do everything I can to make the most of it.
Ray, have we talked about the mental side of World's Toughest? What do you do in the middle of the night? How do you keep yourself going when you don't want to go?
So actually last year, I know a lot of the people warned me that the nighttime hours are the hardest, but for me, they were actually a lot easier than the morning hours, and that's because I had so many gear issues. So first of all, I was too cold, and I was too hot, and I wanted to cut my wetsuit, and we were just dealing with so many things that weren't really running related, that kept my mind off of it. And so in a sense, those mistakes actually helped me get through the night without really thinking about the fact that I'm running this 5-mile lap over and over again. And also, I think all of the headlamps and everything was really gorgeous at night. So if anything, I felt like the views were better in the dark than during the day. But I think that's also another characteristic of that venue, because it's very, very open. So you can see quite far away, and the visibility really isn't an issue ever. I'm not sure how Atlanta is going to be, because if it's all in the woods and pretty dark, I feel like that gets a little bit more scary, especially at night, because I feel like the number of people on course kind of decreases during those midnight to 4 a.m. hours. So I guess my strategy is to just try and occupy myself with something else, and take my mind off of the fact that we're like running those 5-mile laps over and over again. I guess if the gear goes more smooth, that distraction is kind of gone. But I'm sure there's always something that you have to kind of, worry about and try and troubleshoot and try and fix, because nothing ever goes as planned on races that long. So I feel like there's always something to distract you, and you can focus on that, and then the running just kind of happens.
Rea, would you have any advice for someone who's running World's Toughest for their very first time this year?
Yeah, eat a lot. I feel like these races are as much of a running competition as they're eating competition, and I feel like running out of energy is probably number one thing that's going to make you stop. So I know last year I didn't really feel hungry, and you're probably not going to feel hungry just because your body is under so much stress. But it's really important that you still eat. So I think that's where a good crew really comes into play, because last year when I said that I don't want to eat, nobody cared about what I said. They gave me food anyway, and I feel like that's really what saved me, because once you feel hungry, it's really too late. That happened to me last year, like second, I think, to last lap, because I lost my energy gels on the lab. They fell out of my pocket. And so I had no nutrition on the lab, and I really, really bonked. And then coming back to the pit stop, I ate so much food, and that maybe lasted for like 20 minutes on the last lap, and then I got hungry again. So it's really hard to dig yourself out of that hole, and luckily for me, that happened kind of close to the end of the race. But you really have to make sure it doesn't happen before that. So I would make sure to always bring, at least 2 energy gels and one like either granola bar or like a waffle or something more solid with you on course, and give yourselves like time marks when you're going to eat. And even if you're not hungry, just try and eat as much as you can, because it's really going to pay off on the long run. It's hard to keep up the calorie intake with how much you spend. And so it's important to do as close to that as you can, just so that you don't run out of energy.
Rea, do you have any sponsors or anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I have a few sponsors. I have Ascend Protein. They make like post-workout and pre-bed protein to help with muscle repair. And they're really, really great. They like taste delicious, and they're made really clean. And then Endurelite for the pre-workout, which is also going to be kind of mid-workout for me at the World's Toughest Mudder. They also have a few other things, like I think they have Sustain Elite, which you can take as an energy drink throughout the exercise. And then I'm with Mudgear and the socks that I love, and we'll be wearing at World's Toughest Mudder, of course. Last year I actually only had to change my socks once, which was really impressive. So we'll see how it goes this year. And then I'm a brand ambassador for Spring Energy, the energy gels, just because I feel like they're really high quality products, and I want to make sure other people are aware of them too. And then Ultimate Direction, which makes hydration packs and gear, and they were kind enough to send me a few windbreakers I can use and hopefully not destroy at World's Toughest Mudder, but we'll see how that goes.
Rea, how can people find you on social media?
So I have an Instagram account. It's just Rea Kolbl. And then on Facebook, it's Rea Kolbl Pra. It's my husband's last name there too. And yeah, both of those are probably the best to get in touch with me, and try to be pretty responsive if people send me private messages there.
Rea, any last thoughts on World's Toughest Mudder?
I'm excited. I can't wait, and I feel like this 3 weeks or however many there are left, I think it's about 3, are going to drag on a little bit slower than I want them to, but I can't wait to see everybody in Atlanta.
Rea Kolbl, thanks much.
Thanks, Paul.